For most of the 20th century, a small wooden panel hung in the back corner of the Prado Museum in Madrid, cataloged as a minor, unremarkable copy of the Mona Lisa, painted by an anonymous Northern European artist sometime after Leonardo's death, notable mainly for its dull black background and its flat, lifeless shadows. Nobody wrote much about it. Nobody paid it much attention. It was, by every accepted account, simply one of the countless imitations that inevitably spring up around any painting famous enough to be worth copying. And then, in 2012, conservators finally decided to take a genuinely close look at it, and what they found underneath that dull black paint quietly rewrote what we thought we knew about the most famous portrait ever made. This is the Prado Mona Lisa, and I want to be careful about exactly what I'm claiming here, because the story is remarkable enough without exaggeration. This isn't a second original by Leonardo's own hand. Nobody serious has ever claimed that. What it appears to be is something almost as extraordinary in its own way, a painting made by one of Leonardo's own students, sitting in the same room at the same easel distance, working on an almost identical composition at the exact same time Leonardo himself was inventing the Mona Lisa on the panel beside it. Which means that somewhere in a workshop in the early 16th century, two artists were looking at the same woman at the same moment, and one of them happened to be a genius still figuring out, brushstroke by brushstroke, exactly what he wanted to paint. So let's start with the woman herself and the commission that started all of this. Around 1503, a Florentine silk merchant named Francesco del Gigondo commissioned the portrait of his wife, Lisa Heraldini, from Leonardo da Vinci, presumably to commemorate the birth of their second son or the purchase of a new family home, the kind of ordinary domestic occasion that portraits like this were typically made to mark. Leonardo, characteristically, never delivered it. He kept working on it on and off for years, tinkering with it the same way he tinkered with almost everything else he ever started, and eventually simply carried it with him when he left Italy for France, where it remained in his possession until his death in 1519. It's one of the strangest facts in the entire history of Western art that the single most famous portrait ever painted, according to the historical record, was never actually handed over to the person who commissioned it. We also know, from surviving documentary sources, that Leonardo routinely had his students paint directly alongside him in his workshop, learning by close, immediate imitation, rather than through separate, isolated exercises. For a long time, that was simply a historical fact scholars accepted without much physical evidence to confirm exactly how it worked in practice. The Prado panel changed that. Here's what actually happened in 2012. As the Prado prepared to loan the panel to the Louvre for an upcoming exhibition on Leonardo's late work, conservators decided to properly examine it and discovered, first, that the wood itself had been misidentified. It had long been assumed to be oak, consistent with a Northern European origin. Closer examination revealed it was actually walnut, a support Leonardo and his immediate Milanese circle used regularly, appearing in works like The Lady with an Ermine and La Belle Féchonnière. That alone was enough to raise real questions about where this painting had actually come from. Then, using infrared reflectography, a technique that lets conservators see through the visible paint layer down to the artist's original underdrawing, they found something considerably more significant hiding beneath that flat black background: an entire landscape, closely echoing the hazy, atmospheric Tuscan backdrop behind the Louvre's version, which had simply been painted over in black at some point roughly 2 centuries after the panel was originally completed, likely to bring an unfashionable old portrait in line with more contemporary taste. But the real breakthrough came when researchers directly compared this newly revealed underdrawing to infrared scans that had already been taken of the original Mona Lisa back in 2004. What they found were the same pentimenti, the same visible layer of changes and corrections an artist makes while still actively working out a composition, appearing in both paintings in the same places at the same stage of development. adjustments to the position of the veil, corrections around the eyes and the set of the hands, the kind of real-time revision that only happens when an artist is still actively inventing an image, not copying a finished one. If this panel had been painted later by someone working from the completed Mona Lisa as a reference, none of those shared corrections should exist at all. There would be nothing left to correct. A copyist works from a finished answer. This student, whoever they were, appears to have been working through the same open questions Leonardo himself was still working through, at the very same time. Quite possibly from a slightly different angle in the same room, close enough to be following the master's evolving decisions almost stroke for stroke. That detail alone is what elevates this panel from a curiosity into something genuinely historic. This isn't simply the earliest known copy of the Mona Lisa. According to the research the Prado eventually published, it may be the first solid physical evidence we have of Leonardo's own well-documented studio practice actually caught in the act. An apprentice seated beside the master, learning not by imitating a finished masterpiece, but by participating in its creation as it happened. So who was this student? The Prado's own researchers, along with outside scholars, have proposed two leading candidates, both deeply embedded in Leonardo's inner circle. One is Andrea Salai, who joined Leonardo's household at around age 10 and remained one of his closest, most enduring companions and assistants for decades. The other is Francesco Melzi, a young nobleman who became Leonardo's pupil around 1505 and stayed with him until Leonardo's death in France. Neither attribution has been definitively confirmed, and the Prado itself is careful to describe the artist as unidentified. But whoever held that second brush, they weren't the casual hobbyist. The materials used across the panel are genuinely expensive, high-quality pigments, including lapis lazuli, one of the costliest blues available to any painter in this period, ground from actual semi-precious stone, and a rich red lacquer used in the sitter sleeves. This wasn't the rough practice exercise dashed off quickly on cheap materials to build technical skill. Someone invested real, significant resources into this panel, suggesting it was always intended to exist as a serious, finished work in its own right, not simply a disposable teaching aid. And here's where the story becomes genuinely useful, beyond simply being a fascinating footnote. Because the Louvre's Mona Lisa, despite being the single most viewed painting on Earth, is also physically in fairly rough shape. Centuries of aged, yellowed varnish have settled over Leonardo's original palette, darkening and flattening colors that would have once been considerably brighter and more legible. The Prado version, having spent most of its existence largely ignored in storage rather than constantly exposed and revarnished, avoided much of that same slow degradation. Once conservators removed the later black overpainting and cleaned the surface, what emerged was a version of this composition with noticeably crisper, brighter color and details that have simply been lost to time on the original, including a much more clearly visible set of eyebrows, a detail the Louvre's darkened surface had rendered almost completely invisible. So this unassuming, long-overlooked panel in Madrid may genuinely function today as something like a color key for reading Leonardo's own faded masterpiece. A second, less mythologized window into what an entire generation of workshop artists and their teacher were actually looking at when this image was first being invented, before 4 centuries of varnish and travel and fame had a chance to slowly obscure it. I think what makes this discovery so quietly moving, beyond the technical detective work involved in making it, is what it reveals about how creation itself actually happened inside Leonardo's workshop. We tend to imagine a masterpiece like the Mona Lisa as something that emerged in total isolation, a singular genius alone with his private vision, the rest of the world simply waiting outside the studio door for the finished result. The Prado panel quietly dismantles that image. It suggests a room with at least 2 people in it, an established master and a devoted, talented student, both looking at the same woman, both making decisions, both correcting themselves as they went, one of them destined to become one of the most famous images in human history, and the other destined to spend the next 500 years cataloged as an anonymous minor copy, until infrared light finally proved otherwise. So here's what I keep wondering about this one. Do you think knowing there was a second artist in the room, watching, learning, correcting alongside Leonardo in real time, changes how singular and mysterious the Mona Lisa's creation actually feels? Or do you think it makes the whole story even more remarkable? That even sitting shoulder to shoulder with the same subject, the same evolving decisions, only one of those two artists ever managed to capture whatever it is that's made this face impossible to stop looking at for over 500 years? Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.